UFO Channel.
As we mentioned, Donald Trump today called for more and more military spending, more troops, more ships, more submarines, more planes. Didn't say how big the increase in military spending would be, but he did throw out a lot of numbers in justifying the increase.
And look at this, almost $600 billion in spending there, almost as much as all the other 9 of the top 10 combined, Anderson.
The Pentagon has secured a $630 billion budget for next year, even though it's failed to even account for the money it's received since 1996. A whopping $6.5 trillion of taxpayer cash have gone to defense programs, none of which has been audited. And this black budget has sparked concerns over political fraud.
A Reuters investigation says since 1996, the Pentagon has spent $8.5 trillion in taxpayer money that has never been accounted for.
One thing I found very interesting in this report is that the Pentagon apparently uses a standard operating procedure to enter false numbers or so-called plugs to cover lost or missing information in their accounting in order to submit a balanced budget to the Treasury. So they can write in everything.
I mean, that's probably the most shocking part of this, is that they get to the end of the day and they say, oh, there's money missing. What do we do? Well, we'll just put a number in there that says it's there, and we'll sort it out later. I mean, again, this is the type of operating practice that if you did it in your own business, if you try to do it with your own taxes for the government, they haul you off to jail.
What is the Pentagon's black budget being used for?
The federal government's ready for the moment of disaster. As mushroom clouds plume, key politicians and federal staffers would be rushed underground. The sites are prepared, humming along with daily activity right now and hidden from the public. If you're invited, you already know it. If not, you're sort of on your own. Some new facilities have been built up over the last few years, and Garrett Graff found one by accident. While writing about national security for Washingtonian magazine, Graff told NPR he came into possession of a federal employee's badge. On the back, when he flipped it around, it had driving directions. Google Maps showed nothing there, so Graff hopped in the car, and when he arrived at the site in West Virginia, he said the road dead ends into the side of a mountain. There's this little guard shack, chain link fence, and then this set of concrete bunker doors beyond. This wasn't on a map. It wasn't found in government records. So the reporter started digging, and he turned up some fascinating information about some of those bunkers. The most famous, Raven Rock. Situated close to Camp David on the Maryland-Pennsylvania line, Raven Rock has been renovated recently, and it's ready to go at a moment's notice. It operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, every single day of the year. Graff explained to NPR, Raven Rock is inside a hollowed-out mountain, a freestanding city inside, made up of individual 3-story buildings. It has a fire department, police department, medical facilities, even a dining hall that serves 4 meals a day. After 9/11, Raven Rock was dramatically expanded, and today, it could hold as many as 5,000 people. For the overflow, more facilities are hidden around the country, some known, some secret. I caught up with Garrett Graff to get even more details on the government's secret plans. Some of it's cool. Some of it, honestly, is scary.
This is the history of the government's Cold War doomsday plans, sort of everything that would have happened during and after a nuclear attack and the secret plans for how the U.S. government would rebuild afterwards. And while the book focuses a lot on the Cold War, these plans are all still now in effect. These are the same plans that would guide us if we ended up in a war with North Korea or with Russia today. So there is this whole network of bunkers around Washington, including one of the largest is Raven Rock, the title of the book, which is the mountain bunker in Waynesboro, Pennsylvania, just over the state line from Camp David, the president's weekend retreat. And Raven Rock and Mount Leather, which is the civilian government bunker in Berryville, Virginia, are literally hollowed out mountains with small cities built inside, where the U.S. government would retreat in the event of an evacuation of Washington or a surprise attack. We have this whole network of helicopters and planes that would drop in, evacuate officials from across Washington, and evacuate them out to the mountains in these bunkers and dozens of others like them scattered around the rest of the United States.
who would get in and who, I mean, we'd be sitting here today still, doesn't matter, but certain people that you might think would get in probably won't.
Yeah, so one of the interesting aspects of this book is understanding just how tightly classified these plans are. We know that they include the cabinet secretaries, the leadership of Congress, people like the Supreme Court, the leaders of top government agencies, but even people working side by side in the same offices may not understand who is going to be saved in the event of an evacuation and who isn't.
For instance, would a cabinet secretary's wife or husband get to go?
No, and this is one of the great tensions of these plans dating all the way back to the literal first government evacuation drill in the summer of 1954, when Dwight Eisenhower evacuates to that Mount Weather bunker with his cabinet, and they bring along all of their secretaries, their assistants, but none of the wives. And the wives have this very chilly game of cards back in Washington as they realize that none of their husbands were going to bring them along in the event of nuclear war.
Who works there? Because I would imagine it's a whole industry in these small towns of people and family and friends who keep these up and running.
Yeah, so these bunkers, Raven Rock, Mount Weather, others around the country, are staffed 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Some of them are Pentagon facilities, Defense Department facilities, and some of them are actually run by FEMA, which is the civilian agency that's in charge of responding to an emergency. In fact, there is right now, as we are sitting here talking, a presidential doomsday plane, the National Airborne Command Post, which is where the president would run nuclear war from the sky, is sitting on a runway in Omaha, Nebraska. It is fully staffed. Its engines are running. It is ready to take off with just 12 to 15 minutes worth of notice and meet up with the president, rendezvous with the president wherever he is, and let him run nuclear war from the sky for 3 days.
That is incredible. And I was reading in your book there, these cards, and we don't know exactly how many are out there, right? But they have driving directions on the back in case, you're caught unawares and you're the Secretary of Agriculture. You just pull out your card and it tells you where to go.
Yeah, so these plans, there are a certain level of officials who will be evacuated by helicopter wherever they are. There's a team of helicopters in Washington. You can see them every day in the skies over Washington, these blue and gold Air Force helicopters that are basically up there practicing for doomsday on a daily basis. Those helicopters would swoop in and evacuate from pre-designated landing zones all of the top leadership of the government, everyone from the top law enforcement officials to the top cabinet secretaries. But then there's a much larger set of these individuals, sort of the government managers, specialists, meteorologists, logistics and supply personnel, as many as 10,000 people in Washington who have special driving directions and special evacuation directions to make their way to these bunkers and relocation facilities around Washington if something happens, whether it's a terrorist attack, whether it's a chemical attack, biological, or nuclear war.
We'd like to ask for your input. Share your opinion and expertise with us in the comments after watching the video. If you're a subscriber, you'll always get a heart from us as a small thank you, and we'll pin your important post to the top where everyone will read it first. Just make sure you've already subscribed, like the video, and mention both at the beginning of your comment.